Commissioners Board work session. It is Wednesday, September 28th, 2022. It is 2:08 p.m. This is set to go until 3 p.m.
2:45.
Until 2:45? Okay.
Sorry, I got 2:45. Just remember that from the calendar.
This is a hybrid meeting. We're in Building 1, Room 280. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. Vice Chair Ty Menser to my right. Commissioner Gary Edwards joining us via Zoom, as well as Auditor Mary Hall. We also have County Manager Ramiro Chavez, and we have Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell. As guests, we also have Court Commissioner Joe Danning here in the boardroom. And we have many of our staff members joining us, both from GIS, who have been leading us through the redistricting process, as well as from the auditors. Can I introduce you? Can I introduce? Oh.
County Auditor.
I did?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and get started for the 5 commissioners draft district maps. And we're gonna go through background, review of objectives and timelines, and then review the options B and C.
So, thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Let me walk you through a little bit of the background, more from the historical perspective. So let me take you back to mid-year of 2021. At that point, the Port Commission was interested in exploring the idea to go into 5 commissioners representation. The Port Commission back in 2021 had the option to go on their own because they did not have the restriction of the population. Through the conversation with the Board of Olympia, that led to a joint resolution that was signed in December 2021. That joint resolution agrees that both commissions should be going in tandem to request the voters to approve moving the current 3 commissioners representation to a 5 commissioners representation. Predicated on the Thurston County as a whole could reach the 300,000 population, because by statute, the Board of County Commissioners can only put this measure in front of the voters if we reach 300,000 in population. The other sections on the statute states that if any county across the state that reaches who is a home rule county, by the way, who reaches 400,000 population, by default you have to go with a 5 commission representation. But Thurston County is a little bit a ways from that. So we were expecting that perhaps by May we should have those the 300,000 population numbers. We didn't get it until just about June. And at that point, we started working on the assumption that perhaps we're going to be reaching 300,000. And we did receive a formal letter from the Office of Financial Management, who provides an update on a yearly basis of the population, and where Thurston County reached 300,500. That set the stage for both commissions, according to the joint resolution, to pass individual legislative actions to put a ballot measure in front of the voters. The Board Commission did that, as well as the Board of County Commissioners did that, and that was those 2 resolutions, and it was submitted to the county auditor on a timely manner. And those 2 ballot measures are currently, will be in front of the voters on November 8th on the general election. This resolution also includes how we're going to go about in drawing the new districts. And the resolution includes what we call as the Redistricting Commission. And that resolution stays in agreement with the Board of Olympia Commission to have the chair of the Port Commission, as well as the chair of the Board of County Commissioners, to have a joint meetings with the county auditor as a non-voting member to facilitate the conversation. Obviously, within the context of that redistricting committee, we staff from GIS here in the county, as well as the port staff, we're ready to support that effort as we move forward. One of the first elements we stated at the beginning was to start developing some objectives as to how we can probably achieve the drawing of the potential 5 commissioner districts, both for the Port Commission as well as for the Board of County Commissioners. And the second element that we discussed at the first meeting, which is on August 12th, was the timelines. And let me walk you through a little bit of the timelines. And the timelines has an objective of submitting, and I walk you through here in a minute the details of it, to have an objective of the end of the year to have an approval of the new districts if the voters approve both measures on November 8th. And that is in coordination with the Port of Olympia, because the Port of Olympia has different restrictions as to when the new districts needs to be submitted to the county auditor. The Board of County Commissioners have a little more flexibility in that you have a little more time as a Board of County Commissioners to submit the new districts, and that's, I believe, is in March. The deadline of the following year after the successful voting approval by the voters of the 5 commissioners. But this is predicated on the joint venture and the joint resolution and the joint actions with the Port Commission. The Board of County Commissioners agreed to go forward on that timelines. So that is the context. Let me walk you through a little more in detail now related to the objectives. The redistricting committee agreed, and those were the guiding objectives as to how we provided some of the different options on the following meetings. And then I will walk you through the timelines. The objectives that we as a staff took as an umbrella to develop the new redistricting maps was, number 1, achieve equal population number by district, just about 60,000 per district. So let me make a parentheses comment in here. The maps that you will see has a total population of about 294,700. So that will put us in the position to achieve 59,000 population. There is a reason, because we have not received the details of the additional 6,000. They will take us to the 300,000 as to where that population have increased. And that will occur in the next month or 2. But in principle, that can be manageable as we move down the road. So based on what we have, 60,000, but the maps that you will see, it will give us just about 59,000. The second objective was to make sure to maintain current commissioners in their elected districts. And again, that has to be the Port Commission commissioners as well as the Board of County Commissioners to be within the districts in which they were elected, the sitting commissioners. The third objective was to make sure that we follow precinct lines, avoiding splitting precincts. And that was mainly related to the work associated with the auditor's office that needs to go through if we split the districts. Although the county auditor has stated if push comes to shove, that can happen, but also that puts a little different perspective as to how we need to make sure if we split in districts, we need to make sure that do align with congressional and the state representation districts. The fourth objective that was approved by the redistricting committee was compact and contiguous as possible. The next was to maintain communities of mutual interest. And the last and not least, no gerrymandering. Those are the six objectives they approved. When I walk you through each of the options and give you a little history of the maps, I believe each one of those achieved that to a great extent. Some is a matter of perspective as to how you will see each one of those will narrow down each of those objectives a little bit better. In terms of the timelines that we agree, beginning August 12th through September 29th, the redistricting committee will convene meetings and work with the staff to develop a series of maps and options. With the objective of September 30th, but the redistricting committee will be submitting a final draft to the respective legislative authorities, the Port Commission, as well as the Board of County Commissioners. I'm happy to report that we're way ahead of schedule on that particular schedule. So the final recommendation was done on September 9th, so we're just about a month ahead from this. So we're working a little bit more in this expedited timeline, and we have the weeks of October 10th, October 17th, potential meetings. If in case the two commissions land on a preferred alternative that is different from each other. Then we'll get to the point of waiting until the results of the November 8th election. And only then is when the public process truly begins. I believe those meetings have been open to the public as required on the resolution that you passed, the Board of County Commissioners, that you needed to make sure that as part of the Open Public Meetings Act. And there has been great coverage, and in fact, the Olympian put a report, I believe, over a week ago, or not 2 weeks, about this process. And I think it was online as to what the intent of the board was, to have it open to the public. Today, this meeting is televised, and today I will ask the board to land not in approving a district map, because you're not in the position to approve any district's maps, because no voting, the members of, the voters of the county have not given you that authority yet. So what we'll ask you today is to land and agree on a preferred alternative. And moving forward to the process, that preferred alternative will be subject of a public hearing that will be held in November. And at the end of November, and we have a couple of weeks, just in case, depending on the public testimony that you receive, as well as the Port Commission might receive during the public hearing, if there's any options that you'd like to see to change that particular preferred alternative, leading to final approval, and again by mid-December by both commissions, the Port Commission as well as the Board of County Commissioners, and eventually submitted to the county auditor by the end of the year, meeting the intended schedule and requirements by the Port Commission. So the first meeting of the Port Commission was on August 12th, 2022. That is where the redistricting committee agreed on the objectives, agreed on the timelines. And at that time, I myself just started sketching potential ways as to how these 5 districts should be achieved. That set the platform, I believe, for GIS staff to start working on potential options. Led to, on August 26, we had the following meeting, that was 2 weeks after the first meeting, where we provided actually options to the redistricting committee as to what the maps will be. That involved in a couple of other variations from that, led to September 9th, where we presented 3 options. What is option A, option B, and option C? I believe I have been informing the board, county commissioners, as we move along what those options were, as they were prepared. So I'm not here to walk you back in time to walk you through those options, because I believe you were informed of those. And that information was in a public setting, by the way, was not individually. So on September 9th, the redistricting committee, and again, the voting members was the chair of the Port Commission, as well as the chair of the Board of County Commissioners, voted to move 2 options for your consideration. And all of those 2 options will also move to the Port Commission for consideration. We have the executive director of the port here, Sam Gavany, in the public, And I believe the Port Commission will go through the same exercise and the same decision-making process this coming Monday, October 3rd in the afternoon. I was invited to participate. I would love to participate. Unfortunately, when in the middle of budget process, but if there's anything that I can support that decision-making process, I'll be more than happy to support you, Sam.
Thank you for that, County Manager. I guess I'll share my perspective as a redistricting member and how these two maps kind of came to be instead of just having, I think the original thought was just to push forward one map, but then we have these two different options for you, which the only difference, as you'll see, is the extension of one of the maps. And so there was discussion at the previous redistricting meeting and to the intent of the RCW, and I know Commissioner Evans was there, as well as Mayor Wayne Fournier, and we had other members of the public. And there was conversations on whether, you know, option B was what met more of the intention of the RCW of grouping specific areas such as, like, you know, this would be like the city of Lacey together. I know that for my own preference, I, you know, voted for option C, but I thought the Port still commissioners had more discussion items, and so that's why I was like, well, you know, let's also do option B, so if they would like to kind of discuss that. But option C for me meant kind of more of that urban growth area aspect of things that us commissioners have to work with, and the intent of our own jobs here. I think that this is what met it. So that's why you're having two maps before you instead of just one. And then of course it's up to you to choose whether you prefer option B or option C, but I just kind of wanted to lay out kind of what some of the comments were that we got at the last redistricting meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for that perspective. And yeah, they hear that perhaps the option of maybe developing districts, they may follow city boundaries. That is practically impossible, because we have the obligation to make sure that it's a balanced population, and that is the first and foremost objective that we need to achieve by state law. And there is no way that we can probably parcel individual commissioners' districts by cities, because South County will never achieve the population needed by itself. It is just so, and that has been even going back and forth, and I appreciate Sarah's here. She has been nothing but a star in helping us go through this process. And looking at trying to balance the different precincts, the populations within those precincts. I think this is probably, don't want to come across and say you don't have any options, but this is the best possible options from the staff's perspective for you to consider. And I believe both options meet all 6 objectives. And again, as I stated before, and Commissioner Mejia probably elaborated a little bit better than I could, option C, you can probably see which one of those emphasizes, one objective more than the other. So that's really what it is. If you like, I can walk you through, options B, option C, but it is in front of you. I'm open for questions.
Mary, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think you're on the right track, and I just reread the RCWs pertaining to this. I think you're meeting all the criteria.
Commissioner Munzer.
All right, I'll pipe up. So
I want to commend the good work of the staff and the whatever we're calling it, the redistricting committee, because Ramiro was walking us through that's the different permutations. I think you've got two maps. They're both perfectly defensible under the criteria. So I think, you know, they're both fine. Different approaches could be taken to South County representation, but my understanding is that where we landed is what was advocated by the leadership of some key leaders in South County. So I think, again, there's two or three defensible ways to navigate that problem. I'm fine with where things landed. As far as the two maps go, I do prefer C. I think that there's something that maybe doesn't apply to the port that does to the county commission. I mean, we have a dual role. We have a special relationship with our rural residents, and I think there's real value to having each commissioner district have a piece of that part of the county. This one that creates a completely urban district, I really don't see that you're achieving much in the difference between B and C, but you're taking away that connection to the rural part of the county. I think that's a valuable perspective for any county commissioner to have, because we have a totally different relationship with the non-incorporated residents, and that's just key to being a county commissioner. It takes a while to learn, frankly, when you get on the board, how that relationship differs between your municipal constituents and your non-municipal constituents. So I have a slight preference for C, but I think they're both, you know, good maps, and I appreciate all the work that went into it.
Commissioner Edwards.
You want to make this meeting quick? I'm good with C. Did I hear? So we got 3 Cs? Is that what we're good with?
Are you okay with the maps in general?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I'm okay with the
But
maps.
I okay with the process?
Oh, sure. No, I think it's, there's arguments both ways. There's all good. I think staff did a great job. I think it fits. I do think, I take exception to one thing that you said. You said you don't think we'll ever have that population in South County. I happen to believe that because of the whole virus thing, new way of working, where people are wanting to live, the Growth Management Act, I believe, will be revised at some point to recognize those folks that want to work from home and don't want to live in urban core. So I see those populations changing, but I think this can be changed every 10 years if need be.
Yeah, and
And
yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm gonna, in about 20 years, I wouldn't doubt there's gonna be some substantial change in where the population exists in our county.
Thank you, Commissioner. Forgive me if I misspoke.
No, you didn't misspoke. You didn't
I was making the point that under current conditions, South County will not be able to achieve
Yes.
the population.
Current
without getting
conditions,
into-
I agree with you 100%, sir. But I do
So,
think
and
we're
I
gonna-
totally agree with you that things will change. And this is not static, as you have gone through this process in a couple of occasions. In the districts, if the board is approved, you know, on November 8th, and if alternative option C is eventually approved after the public process, there's always an opportunity for the new commission to change the districts like this as they see fit.
And we did get quite a bit of public comment, specifically when the first variations of the map came through about, you know, just from different people down in South County wanting to, you know, the first request was, you know, can we do Tenino, Bucota, and Rainier together? But then a lot of Rochester residents or from the Grand Mound area sent a lot of emails saying, well, we actually want to be included into that. We also want to be a part of that. And so I think this was kind of like the best variation, and staff was trying to work. And so I would also like to commend staff, because I know trying to make the population work out and trying to make everything fit was sometimes difficult, and especially trying to meet the different expectations, and also trying to, you know, be respectful of all the public comment that we were getting. in terms of redistricting.
Quite a feat to get Commissioner Isle and Commissioner Edwards in the same district, but yet have a nice looking map, so that's good job.
Actually, the most difficult district to balance was
That's
District 1.
mine and Jim's.
Yeah, and I know
That was.
that's where all the changes happen, and I get that, but
But yeah.
Mary, you have your hand up.
So I just want to point out that we don't technically certify the election until November 29th. So I'm not sure if you can approve the plans before that. That would be an Elizabeth question.
No, we don't have that in the schedule to be approved prior to the certification of the elections.
Okay.
The approved plan based on the schedule we have for December 13th.
Ramiro, did it ever, I know we don't have probably, did we ever get an answer to the question I had of, if I happen to not be reelected, could this map stay the same by using different numbers for the port and the county? That would be the only way I could see that you could keep this map. Did we ever get, did legal ever weigh in on that, or was that ever discussed? Okay, so
No, they never
cross
got
that
to-
bridge when we get there.
Yeah, we can probably discuss that. That was, with all due respect, that was a more of speculation.
Well, it's speculation, but it's, I'm the only seat up
Right.
this year out of the 6 of us. And it would create quite a challenge to put
Yeah.
Commissioner Evans and the newly
Yeah,
elected
and,
commissioner in the same district. This map would have to completely,
It will
Start from
have to
scratch.
completely change, and at that point, I will assume the commission will exercise the additional extension of time.
but you could use, my idea was you could keep the number, you could just renumber. You could have the same lines, but 2 different numbers.
I don't think, I don't want to put Elizabeth on the spot, but I don't think it is a possibility to change the numbering.
But you're not changing the numbering, you're creating new districts. It only says that the commissioner can't be knocked out of his own district. Well, the commissioner wouldn't be. It just would be a different,
Right, because in this case, the blue will be district.
3 for the county commission, and under this
The
hypothetical.
yellow will be.
And yellow would be 3 for the port.
Let me work on that.
And then you could change the numbers later. I think you could change it later, but I'd hate to lose all this work on this map, because I think it's the right map, even if, we've gotten to that weird eventuality where you have Commissioner Evans way at the top and a commissioner way at the bottom. It's just a thought.
I just like to point out, anytime I have when the public's involved in our activities, that it's pretty unusual for a diverse board, both port and county commissioners, to unanimously agree. And I think it helps the citizenry maybe make a decision on a confusing topic.
Agree on anything, much less agreeing to reduce the power of their own vote.
So
That's a pretty powerful statement, I would say.
before you adjourn this meeting, I would like to formalize your decision, if I may.
Are you gonna give a number?
So, just
I'm
to
with the
formalize
chair.
for the record, the Board of County Commissioners agree on a preferred alternative, and the preferred alternative is option C. As
Commissioner,
presented.
thumbs up.
Yep, thank you, 3-0. Appreciate it, Commissioners. Thank
Okay,
you.
2:36 PM. Thank you all. You're adjourned.
Hey, Joe, I got a